Let's move on to the main event now. I'm very, very excited for this fight. Maybe not as excited as the Petr Yan Aljamain Sterling fight, but this is the first foray for Israel Adesanya, middleweight champion, going up to light heavyweight against the title holder right now, Jan Blachowicz. Blachowicz defends his title for the first time after knocking out Dominic Reyes. I believe that was back in September on actually the same card that we saw Israel Adesanya put away Paulo Costa, UFC 253. So both guys last time fought on the same night. They come back now. They're fighting each other. From a storyline perspective, I'm not really a big fan of this matchup. I was hoping that the UFC would give Jan Blachowicz Glover Teixeira. Glover Teixeira's biggest fight right now is up against Father Time, so he doesn't have too much time really left to just sit on the sidelines and wait for a title shot. But let's not forget that Glover is sitting on the sidelines in case something goes wrong at the weigh-ins for these guys, or whether one of them get pulled out for COVID or something like that. So at least we have a backup for this main event. But in terms of stylistically how these guys match up, right? Israel Adesanya, master when it comes to the striking game. The guys, the approach that he took in the Paulo Costa fight, very impressive. Attack that calf kick right off the bat. Take the power and the sting away from the shots of Paulo Costa, and then let your hands do the work in the second round. And that's exactly what happens. Drops him, knocks him out. Big win for him there. Now with Blachowicz, now he's fighting a guy that's like going to be a solid 20 or 30 pounds heavier than him. I'm very much intrigued to see what he looks like on scales tomorrow, which is why I can't wait to do the final weigh-in with you guys tomorrow as well, to see how we dissect. Apparently he might come in at 193 or 195 or some shit. Isn't there like a limit that you need to reach? Like, you can't be more than 186 or less than 186 pounds for a 205-pound fight. So he's going to have to make sure that he has his ducks in a row in terms of that information. But I think that him being lighter here will help with his speed, and that's where it's going to ultimately come down to. I saw this exchange earlier on Twitter or Instagram between Corey Anderson and Jimmy Manuel, who both fought Jan Blachowicz in the past, and the one thing that they're alluding to is that they think the lighter guy in Adesanya here will be super successful due to his speed. And that's one thing that we can knock on Blachowicz is he's a little bit slow at times. The guy covered distance pretty well with combinations, and that's how he was able to knock out Dominic Reyes, especially readjusting his nose with one of those shots. Absolutely brutal shot that he took there. But unless Blachowicz can get this fight down with, a certainty and actually be comfortable down there, I think he's going to have a hard time tracking down Adesanya and getting his own strikes off. Now, if he lands cleanly enough on his Adesanya, will that Polish power come out, and will it actually do some damage to Adesanya? The one thing that sticks out in my mind is seeing Adesanya get rocked and hurt by Kelvin Gastelum when he was fighting a 170er in Kelvin Gastelum. Right, so that's the one thing that always sticks out to me here regarding whenever we see Adesanya, again, going up in a weight class, fighting a heavy puncher like Paulo Costa in the past. That's always going to stick out in my mind. But I still think that we see Adesanya go out there, kind of style on Blachowicz. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him go out there and do the calf kick thing again. Let's take the pop off the shot. Let's take away the movement of Blachowicz here, and so that we can get our hands going. He's going to have a height and reach advantage here as well too, which will pay right into his game. But yeah, I think Adesanya has this fight in the bag, but I'm not willing to shell out that minus 200 for him. There's just too many question marks, especially considering that this is his first fight at 205 pounds. Blachowicz has welcomed a couple past middleweights to 205 pounds, and he's knocked out all of them. So he goes out there and showcases, that he can live up to the moment and truly accomplish, the high standards that are set out for him, just as it's been shown with him capturing that light heavyweight title, coming into that fight against Dominic Reyes as a plus 200 underdog as well, too. That's something people overlook as well. So I still do favor Adesanya here. I think he wins this fight late, though, maybe round 5 KO or a decision. So if you want to look at the props for that specifically, we got Adesanya by decision at plus 205, not too shabby. And if you're getting a little bit crazy like me, if you like to get a little bit funky, Adesanya wins in round 5 at plus 1900. But yeah, I got Adesanya here, KO or decision. How are you seeing this one?
Yeah, again, this is another fight that I'm looking to chase some of these overs. Jan Blachowicz, if anything, he's got legendary durability. And the guy's tough. He's very tough to put away. He hasn't been knocked out a whole lot in his career. And yeah, you see him, I guess, against Thiago Santos, who's just a big power puncher, but he makes a mental lapse in that fight. He's doing good through the first 2 rounds. In the third round, it's almost like Ryan Bader, Lyoto Machida. Like, you kind of get impatient of waiting there and staring at this guy, so you rush in and they hit you with a clean counter. Outside of that, Jan Blachowicz, again, he's been in there with a lot of tough guys. He's taken shots. He's a durable enough guy. If Izzy's going to win this fight, I don't think Izzy goes out there and knocks Jan in the first round. Against Izzy's coming up a weight class. Technically speaking, he's coming up 2 weight classes when you consider The move from 85 to 205 is 20 pounds, you know? The move from 35 to 45 or 45 to 55 or 55 to 170, like none of these are 20-pound jumps. So middleweight to light heavyweight is significant enough. If it takes away some of his power, takes away some of his pop, he's not quite, you know, the same. He's always going to be a great striker, fluid striker, but if the power is not the same, Jan could take a little bit more. We're looking for over 2.5. We're looking for fight to start round 3. We're looking for fight to start round 4. Flip side to that, if Jan is able to flip the script on Izzy and has some success with his striking, has some success crashing forward, closing the distance, being the aggressor, and even has some success getting this fight to the ground, where Jan's actually a pretty decent black belt, very good top pressure, you know, very heavy guy. If he is able to get the fight to the ground, it's all just slowing it down. So, I mean, we're looking to hit overs is the main thing, but I think the UFC knows exactly what they're doing with Israel Adesanya. You have to look at this as a company that's predicated on their stars, right? We need stars. When they sold for those billions of dollars, which I still scratch my head out, they came up with that assessment of the company's value. But regardless, when they made that deal, it's like we have Conor McGregor and we have Ronda Rousey, two absolute mega stars capable of selling. That's what you're going for. In the past, you know, they've had a Chuck Liddell. They've had their Tito Ortizes. They've had these stretches where you have people selling. Most recently, it's been Khabib Nurmagomedov, but he's retired. Conor comes back, but he loses and did not look good. The interest there is not quite the same, although he'll still sell 1 million pay-per-views if he wants. He's a once-a-year fighter, and his best days appear to be behind him. John Jones has never been a pay-per-view seller, even though he's got such a nice-looking record and this and that, and he's undefeated, and he's got a notorious character. He's always been a low pay-per-view seller. Ronda Rousey is clearly retired. They don't have any of these big stars that they're able to sell. And then it appears that Israel Adesanya is that guy for them. I mean, he's got a polarizing personality in that he seems to love the women. He seems to love the men. He seems to love the dogs. The guy's fucking weird, but like there's a little bit of something there for everybody. He's an absolute fantastic martial artist. You know, we're familiar with his Glory kickboxing days or his Muay Thai background and this and that. But beyond that, I mean, he's a smart guy, right? He's got the personality. That's all by design, you know, help sell tickets and be marketable. But as far as his style goes, he's smart. He doesn't have to overexert himself. He's got the right strike selection. He's not a god. He's not a demigod. I mean, you mentioned the Kelvin Gastelum fight. It's 2-2 going into the 5th. He got seriously wobbled and hurt by a head kick by a 5'9" fat welterweight. Like, this is not a good look, man. And then the 5th round, he looks tremendous. The Yoel Romero fight, he lost. How did he win that fight? Because nothing happened.
Nothing happened. You know, that's why. Yeah.
You got to beat the champ to be the champ. And that was like, well, I stared down the champ, so I'm the champ. It's like, oh, listen, I thought you won, but such a bad fight. I wouldn't have given you the title either. Izzy retains. And then through those like bad fights, you know, you get the Whitaker fight, you get the Paulo Costa fight where it's like masterpiece. This guy's got it, masterpiece. But like if Jan sits back, like is he going to go after him? No, he wants to counterpunch, right? So Jan's going to lead the dance. And Jan's got tools, man. Like, not only does he have a decent punching power, like he could hit you with the hook, he's got the nasty body kick, man. He just hits the body, hurts the body. That's what slowed Dominic Reyes down. It's like his body was mince meat, you know, 6 minutes into that fight. Now all of a sudden you can't defend yourself. You're tiring, you're slowing. Like, he could pose problems for Israel Adesanya, but I think the leg kick game, I think the distance, I think the speed should all play out. I think Izzy probably does get the job done. I think Izzy gets the job done by decision. I know that sounds crazy, but I mean, last week was the same thing. People thought Don was going to win, but 25 minutes is a long time for heavyweights, right? But it's not. If nothing's going on, it's not. Ankalaev versus Krylov. I had Ankalaev by decision. Like, dude, a Krylov fight could be any. You've seen Krylov's last fight. Same thing. He's a decision, or he's a finisher. But there's trends, you know, there's ways to win a fight that are just slowing the pace down. This is probably striker versus striker. 25 minutes of this is going to be hectic. But similar to last week, 25 minutes of striker versus striker where neither guy's really looking to overcommit slows things down. Izzy's got the power, but still, he went 5 rounds of Kelvin Gastelum. You know, Paulo Costa threw 0 significant. I think he threw something like minus 7 significant strikes. Like, Paulo Costa just stared at him. Yoel just stared at him, but that all slows shit down. So I think with Jan's not just going to stare at him, but he's not going to bum rush him for 25 minutes. There's going to be slowing down of the fight. I think it gets some of these overs anyway. So I think as far as the prop bet that I like on this fight, I really like that over 2.5 at -145. Again, does the fight get greasy beyond that? Potentially, but I'm looking to hit overs on this fight. The over 3.5 is plus 100. The over 4.5 is plus 135. And the fight just to outright go the distance is plus 140. So mean, I would probably take the over 4.5 over the fight goes the distance. Dude, it's 5 points, man. And they're going to be tired by the 5th round. Things always get a little dicey. And in the 5th, you know, if Jan's down and he's still there, he'll go after it. And that could lead to a finish from both sides. He goes after and gets caught the way he did against Thiago, or he goes after it and he makes some magic happen. But regardless, it's like with Israel, he seems to just operate at a higher level. If you fight him at a low level, he's willing to fight to that, but he always just does a little bit more to get the job done. Anyways, we're in the business of giving a prop. The straight up bet on this, I don't like as much as hitting that over 2.5. So that would be the play on this one, is that even if Jan does pull it off, he's not knocking out Izzy in the first round. And if Izzy goes out there and looks great and gets the win, I don't think he's knocking out Jan in the first round. So get me to the second, get me to the third, get me to the fourth. I'd be happy with all that.
Good point here brought up by one of our viewers, Rick Sanchez. First time he's ever fought in a small octagon. Now, I thought that was initially incorrect when he fought Brad Tavares on the Ultimate Fighter finale, but that was one of those weird Ultimate Fighter finales that they actually had at T-Mobile Arena, which was weird as hell to have a finale at such a big arena like that. But yeah, so I'm interested to see how that plays out in this fight, given that these guys are two bigger guys, and Israel Adesanya definitely needs that space to move around and get his work going. Go ahead, Cody.
The last thing I would say is that try to get, if you had a mole, you had somebody on the inside, right? The key here is get somebody to follow Jan Blachowicz after weigh-ins, specifically right around 6:30, 7 o'clock at night when he goes for dinner. And if it turns out he's drinking wine, no fucking chance here. We know by now you can't drink wine the night before an Izzy fight and defeat the man. So keep in mind that. We'll do the weigh-in show tomorrow and hopefully get our mole on it. But if he comes in sober, he's got a chance.
I know you got insiders over there, so we'll be leaning on you tomorrow to see if we can get somebody. All right.